The urge to find an explanation for everything is an inherent part of the human psyche, and whenever we come across mysteries that don't have a rational explanation, it becomes an intriguing event that can linger with us for decades. The new Netflix series, Files of the Unexplained, deals with a series of such strange and unexplained events over the years, and the case of the floating feet and shoes washing up on the shores of the Salish Sea is one of the most haunting episodes in the entire series. In this video, we'll bring you everything there is to know about the case and discuss all the probable explanations for this bizarre mystery. Before we get into our explanation though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What is the mystery of the floating feet in the Salish Sea? The coasts of the Salish Sea in British Columbia, Canada and Washington have observed this particular event, where detached human feet have washed up on their shores. This is the region around the border between the US and Canada, and the first such case was reported on the 20th of August in 2007 in British Columbia. Since then, there have been over 20 detached feet washing ashore, and most of these feet were found in sneakers. Many of these feet have been identified later through DNA analysis, but the real cause behind how these people got their feet severed is yet to be uncovered. The last reported case on the matter came in December 2021 from Port Angeles, Washington, and since then, there's been a quiet period, with only one report from Gonzales Beach in Victoria without any verifiable details. It is extremely unusual to find just the feet and not the rest of the body, and experts have been working overtime to come up with rational explanations. Why did these floating feet wash up in this particular region? It does sound completely supernatural and mysterious when you consider that over 20 such cases happened in a particular region along the shores of the Salish Sea. However, the bizarre coincidence can be explained by a simple theory on ocean currents. An experiment conducted by a professor of oceanography proved that the water currents in the surrounding regions are conducive to ensuring that the feet wash up there. The Salish Sea is a large and complex water body with many small islands, and it becomes a trap for the extensive Northwest Pacific. Additionally, the westerlies are prevailing winds in the region, and they bring in stuff from the ocean instead of pushing them out. Most of the feet that washed up on shore were found in sneakers, and that explains why the feet were relatively free from absolute decomposition. The sneakers also ensured that the feet floated on the water, which would ensure their direction towards the shores because of the water currents in the region. Since roughly 2005, sneakers have been made with an increasing amount of air trapped in the soles, and the additional foam in the shoes also meant that they would float easily. So there's a perfectly logical explanation as to how the feet ended up in this particular region, and how they managed to float and stay relatively free of decomposition. Also, in cases where the decomposition did take its full course, the feet easily detached from the ankles because the ankle is relatively weak. But how did all these feet get severed from their owners in the first place? Was it the work of a demented serial killer? There's never been a shortage of twisted, psychotic killers in the US, and some of them have never been nabbed. When the repeated cases of feet washing ashore became public, one of the most dreadful assumptions was the involvement of a serial killer. Of course, there's no better place to dispose of a body than in the middle of the ocean, and someone could have carefully nabbed their victims and chopped off their feet before throwing them out into the ocean to get rid of the evidence. There was also talks of mob killings, because drug lords are known to send messages through violence, and there's not a lot of scarier messages than finding the severed feet of the mob's enemies. Although this doesn't sound entirely impossible or unbelievable, there haven't been enough reports of people being abducted in the region to suggest the same. Also, some victims have been identified as cases of suicide and probable accidents, which makes the mob logic invalid as well. Is it the work of a sinister sea creature? One of the most interesting parts of the Netflix episode that explores the event is when a person claims to have spotted a mysterious creature in the waters around the shore. The man was walking his dog, and when the dog refused to go into the waters that day, he looked from the beach only to find traces of a strange sea creature disappearing in the water. From his explanation, the creature looks like a cross between a giant reptile and a shark, and it had multiple humps on its body. But it also needs to be considered that there is no official record of such a creature existing anywhere in the world, let alone in these waters. Even the witness says that he could have been imagining things in his head, and he cannot be taken as concrete eyewitness. Many were quick to suspect shark attacks, but such cases are extremely rare in the region. Even though there are killer whales around, there are no records of these creatures ever fatally attacking humans. Besides, such large predatory animals wouldn't leave the feet out while preying on the bodies. What if the victims were taken by aliens? There is no unexplained mystery in the United States that someone will not attach to alien theories. the UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists tried to bring in an alien connection to the series of washed-up feet on the shores. Some of these theories even suggested that there could be a secret alien base under the waters, and human victims were being used for experiments conducted by them. The theory is as outrageous as it sounds, and as you'd expect, there wasn't enough backing to this ridiculous proposition, nor was there any evidence to even remotely suggest that this was the case. Is the real reason much simpler than our wild imaginations? Yes, there are times when reality is stranger than fiction, but on certain occasions we often miss out on the simplest of explanations in our quest of the unexplained. When it comes to the case of feet washing ashore in the Northwest Pacific, there can be a rather simple and scientific explanation for the entire saga. There have been numerous experiments conducted by experts to determine the nature of dead bodies in water, and results suggest that a majority of bodies would float in the ocean without any external factors. Even when the body sinks, there's a high chance of it floating back up after being bloated underwater. However, when the water is cold and deep, the greater water pressure sometimes prevents gases from expanding the bodies, and they don't float at all. In such cases, microbial processes convert the tissues of the body to a waxy soap-like tissue called adipocere, which can persist for years. Some of the feet found in the Salish Sea were covered in adipocere, which indicates that they belonged to individuals who sank and remained that way. In the Salish Sea, there is an abundance of scavenger aquatic creatures such as lobsters, crabs, and shrimp, and experiments have suggested that these underwater scavengers prefer to feed on the softer tissues of dead organisms. The shoe-wearing feet are likely severed in this process, and they wash up on shore because of the water currents that we have already discussed. This theory is supported by the fact that all of the feet that washed up appeared to have been separated from the corpse by natural processes, and it would be unfair to term them as severed by someone. Further investigations on the washed up feet have revealed the potential identities of many when the DNA from each foot was matched to a database of missing people in the region. The coroner's reports suggest that none of the identified cases seem to be related to homicide, and it was either a case of suicide or probable accidents. It would be a relief if this very rational and logical explanation was the actual one, but there's a minor hiccup involved in the process. The feet have suddenly stopped washing ashore in the last few years, and also there weren't any reports of such cases before 2007. With this logic, washed up feet should have been a regular phenomenon in these beaches because clearly people have always gone missing in the waters, and not just between 2007 and 2020. Could there be more to this unknown mystery than meets the eye? Unfortunately, we will never know. Marvelous verdict! Even the probable scientific explanation has loopholes. The case of the Salish Sea feet has remained one of the most talked about mysteries of the last 2 decades, and the reason behind the worldwide curiosity on the matter is because the whole thing isn't so black and white. Taking a look at all the different theories, it's most likely because of the perfectly scientific reason that we just explained, but even that leaves a few questions unanswered. There's been a lull in this bizarre mystery for the time being, but if it starts happening again, then we're sure that there will be more investigations on the matter. Maybe we'll find the real answers to this mystery one day, and whether it is a morbid serial killer, an unknown sea creature, or simply a logical, biological process. We'd really love to know. Don't forget to let us know what you think the real reason behind the Salish Sea feet is in the comments down below, and also let us know if you like this mystery-packed mini-series and which other episodes from the show triggered your interest. Also, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.